All righty, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 30th of May, 2025. Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. And we're getting ready to flip the calendar over. Coming up over the weekend to the month of June, the month of the NHL draft. The month the cup will be handed out. As I tape this right now, we got one team that has punched their ticket to the Stanley Cup final, and it's a familiar face. It's the Florida Panthers, who will go once again to the final. Got there, lost, got there, won. Will be there again. Will they win again? Will it be a rematch of last year where they went up 3-0 against Edmonton, and then Edmonton got it all the way back to force a Game 7, but ultimately going down in that Game 7, Florida winning their first Stanley Cup. Florida, a team that deploys something I see messaged about, tweeted about, Facebooked about, comments sectioned about the dump and chase. Florida's the biggest dump and chase team in the league, and they are phenomenal at it. The dump and chase doesn't always mean it's old-time hockey. Dump and chase is with a purpose, and that purpose has become more and more pronounced over the years through systems and trends and all of that stuff. And Florida right now, for my money, has got the best dump and chase that I've seen in a very long time. They just get in on it. They come through the neutral zone as a 5-man unit with pace, know where they're going, know guys that aren't going to attack the puck or the puck carrier or a 50-50 battle are supporting it in the right spots and often causing turnovers and zone time and then pressure and then obviously leading to a lot of goals as well with their forecheck. So we'll see who they face. We may know now as the Edmonton Oilers are trying to put the final nails to the Dallas Stars in that Western Conference final. All right, here's what we're going to get to in this episode. We're talking about Tyson Forster in just a second, who signed a new contract. We're going to hear his Flyers exit day interview as well. We moved him up because he signed that contract. We're going to get to some YouTube comments, and we'll get after it once again. Let's get to the YouTube comments first. Well, let's mention Tyson Forster's contract first. Let's start there with the big news. Tyson Forster, who is a restricted free agent coming out of ZLC, signed a 2-year extension worth an average annual value of $3.75 million, according to general manager Danny Briere. Tyson Forster, 23 years old. He'll be 24 coming up on the 18th of January. He had 43 points, 25 goals, 18 assists in 81 games last year, and he had the highest shooting percentage of anybody on the Flyers. Pretty good number, 17.6%, while ranking second in goals with 25. Third in power play points. We won't talk about that. It's only 8. Should be higher, and it will be. And his 43 points ranked 4th on the Flyers team. He's now posted back-to-back seasons with 20 or more goals, and there is absolutely a 30-goal season in his future. He, big frame guy. We were wondering if the foot speed, his skating would be an issue at the NHL level. It hasn't been because he's a very instinctual player. He's got maybe a higher hockey IQ than first thought. And he certainly is a much better 200-foot player than first thought. He kind of got drafted in the first round based on his scoring ability in that shot, but he's really good in board battles, really heavy on his stick, on something you'll hear him talk about in our Flyers exit day interview. I asked him about being heavy on the stick, and he said he was in a camp with Sean Couturier and was like, whoa, that guy's heavy on his stick. All said and done, 83 points in 166 NHL games to half a point per game average, and I think there's a lot more there. Plus, I think he's a player based on the season he had, the seasons he had, and also his performance at the World Hockey Championship, where he really, really played well. He was a guy that was potentially out there to be offer sheeted. So you avoid that as well. That's a headache you didn't need. So he had 3 goals and 3 assists in the World Junior Championship, the under-20 in 2022. So his development has been pretty, we talk about development not being a straight line. His has been, even though he goes through periods where he'll go cold, and a lot of goal scorers are like that, and I think he'll still go through those things. He's never been a net negative player when he wasn't scoring because he was doing other things like keeping goals out of the net with good 200-foot play that made him a net positive player, even though he wasn't ending up on the score sheet. We know about the chemistry he developed with Cates and Brink this year. We'll see if they come back with that under a new coach. Does that chemistry travel year to year? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. We shall see. But congrats to Tyson Forster on the new 2-year deal. We'll hear his Flyers exit day interview coming up in just a couple minutes after we get to. We haven't done this in a while. I always like to check on the community because Flyers Daily, it's a community. I've tried to turn this into a community by emails, reading listener emails and viewer emails, comments. And we got a couple of emails, and we're going to read through some of the YouTube comments as well. Bill, I got 2 emails regarding the same thing. Bill said, just read a take on the Flyers moving up to number 2 with San Jose because Mike Greer said the San Jose pick is available. Of course, they picked number 1 last year and got Macklin Celebrini. The price would be very steep. He says, what's your take on it? Looking for obviously number 6 and another 25 first rounder, one of the 25 seconds, and then at least one NHL player to Rich Vermisa. Boy, it is rare that teams are willing to trade out of the number 2 spot or a top 3 or 5 spot. We just don't see it very often. And the reason is because the price to do it is often very high and damn near unreasonable. Now, why is it unreasonable? Because you never want to be that GM that made that trade, ended up not getting a great return, and the player that you could have taken there turns into an absolute rock star. You carry that around for the rest of your life. You had the number 2 pick. This player that turned into a total stud, you traded back and you didn't get much good. There's a lot of risk. And there's a lot of risk for a young GM like Mike Greer to do that. Martin had sent an email, said, Jason, love your show. It's my first time writing in. Welcome. There's some chatter about the Flyers trading up in the draft, potentially the 2nd. The talk often concerns trading the 6th pick and one of the other first-round picks for the 2nd overall pick. It's also sometimes adds a player or a prospect. I wanted to look at some of the probabilities and use the chances of success of first-round picks from my hockeywriters.com. From hockeywriters.com. He said, I evaluated the possible outcomes of 6th and 22 pick versus the 2nd pick. And the analysis assumes that the Flyers are no better or worse at pick selection than the average. He said, I've attached a screenshot of my analysis. I can send you the spreadsheet with the actual calculations if you're interested. But he said he used the measures of success as the number of games played in the NHL. He said he could have used goals as the measure, but this would have been discounted for goalies and defensemen. And he said he regarded 300 games as moderately successful, 500 or 750 games as very successful. And if you look at the data, he has the following conclusions. The 2nd pick has a higher percentage chance of getting 500 or 750 games played as a player than the 6th pick and 22nd pick combined, 72.1% to 62.9% for a 500 game player and a 45.9% versus 41.6% for a 750 game player. However, keeping the 6 and 22 picks has a 13.9% chance of getting 2 500 game plus players, which obviously cannot happen with just the single 2nd round pick. Now, I said on the downside, keeping the 6 and 22 picks has a 37.1% chance of getting 0 players with 500 games versus 27.9 with the 2nd pick. So those are kind of the facts of the matter on how you break it down by games played. Now, what that doesn't take into consideration is minutes played, role. Is the guy a career 4th liner? What is it? Games played is a pretty obtuse number, but is the upside so great that you're willing to go 622 and a decent prospect, or 622 and Brink, or 622 and another player to get up to number 2 for Misa? I mean, it's a need for the Flyers. It's center. It would be bold, and I'm always in the mood to be bold. And the damage for the Flyers is mitigated a little bit because they have another first-round pick, and they have multiple first rounds next year. So it's something that absolutely interests me. I'm not doing anything with next year's number 1 pick because I need that in case I want to offer sheet somebody this offseason. You need your own picks. You need your own first-round pick next year. And if you don't use that pick in an offer sheet, which is something I've really been contemplating, that could be in play. But what happens if next year they bring in a goalie? They trade for Thatcher Demko or Gibson. and they get hurt. The season goes sideways. Now, all of a sudden, you're in the lottery again, and you used your first round pick on an offer sheet that was successful, and you don't have that pick and you're in the lottery, and Gavin McKenna's available, and you have the chance to move from 8 to number 1, or like the Islanders did this year, moving all the way up to number 1. And now you go, oh my God, what have we done? So you got to be careful. These are very, very prudent decisions with tons of ramifications to the affirmative and to the negative. They could end up being good, or you could end up with egg on your face in a big, big way. That's how much is on the line. In a 32-team salary cap league, there is a lot on the line, and you got to get it right. You don't get out of jail free cards. There's no other GM that's going to throw you a lifeline and save you from your mistake. And the mistakes, they haunt you for years. Look at Nolan Patrick in the 2017 draft. That is they got this great luck to move up to number 2, and they got nothing out of it beyond a couple of seasons of, okay, maybe a little bit of promise, but ultimately not much. And that's a killer. When you get luck and you do move up, it's got to be something that it's a gift turned into a curse. Let's get to some of the the YouTube comments from our Monday episode or Wednesday episode, where we featured Sean Couturier in our Exit Day interview series and talked about a lot of other things as well. John says, totally agree with you, Jason, on not going after Marner, as he is not the right fit for the Flyers. He said Demko is good, but not able to stay healthy, so the Flyers should also pass on him, although they needed a goaltender who can stop stoppable shots. Look, any player, any goalie you pick up, and a veteran goalie to boot, is going to have the concern of injury, no doubt about it. Demko comes fresh off an injury last year, and I checked in with our friend Kevin Woodley, who said they got the injury stuff figured out with Demko. So it should be good. But he also said to me, and Woody covers the Vancouver Canucks for NHL.com, and also our great goalie guru from In Goal Magazine, he said the Canucks might want to keep him, though. If they want to rebound next season, they may want to keep Lankinen and Demko. They've got Lankinen under contract for a number of years, and maybe Demko becomes more valuable to the Canucks at the trade deadline, and also couches them to get off to a good start running the 2 goaltenders, not overusing Lankinen, and then you can move Demko at the deadline. That's something that could happen. It's going to be a hefty price to get Demko on a 1-year remaining deal at $5.1 million. So you got to consider that as well. Demko's going to have value. If he's healthy, he's Team Canada's goalie in the Olympics. So we'll see where it all goes. Is he healthy enough, and are they confident enough, Team Canada, to go with him over Binnington? We'll see. They just won 4 Nations with Binnington, of course, this past season. Let's go to BP Card says, I don't want Marner. That's it. Simple. Neil, I'm in the firm belief that goaltending is a function of the defense in front of them and the system. Well, not entirely, although I am one that preaches goaltending, like Kevin Woodley does not happen in a vacuum. They are a product of their environment a lot. Now, to varying degrees. Neil went on to say Marty Turco and Brian Elliott put up otherworldly numbers, great numbers in Dallas and St. Louis, but neither were great goaltenders. Turco didn't even get to the NHL until he was 25. That's common. That's not a big deal that he didn't get there early 25. Some guys are late bloomers at that position in particular. He said, I was a huge fan of Lindbergh and the Hextall era, but perhaps their success was aided by having Mark Howe, Brad McCrimmon, Brad Marsh, and Doug Crossman in front of them. Don't pay huge money to go find a goalie. Now, this is an argument that a lot of people make. When you look at some of the cup-winning goalies, whether it's Aiden Hill, you have Bobrovsky, who won it last year, who makes $10 million. There's not a lot of franchise goalies in today's NHL. What is it? Bobrovsky, Shesterkin, Sorokin, Vasilevsky. He's kind of on his downside a little bit now. Obviously, Connor Hellebuck. There's 6 or 7 legit franchise goalies. And in a 32-team league, it's been spread out so much. So, and somebody replied to Neil's comment and said, Bobrovsky is a $10 million a year goalie. I think he earns every cent of that contract, getting 3 shutouts in the playoffs when needed the most. Well, if you remember last season going into the playoffs, he lost the job to Alex Lyon. We've seen a lot of goalies that get paid a ton of money falter in playoffs. So that's no guarantee. It is not a guarantee. The best goalie in the NHL this year is going to win in Vezina. Is in line for the Hart Trophy too. Is Connor Hellebuck. And he couldn't win his team. He wasn't even good in the playoffs. It makes a ton of money. So that is not a guarantee that you pay one of the stud goalies big money that you're going to be waltzing your way to Cup Finals. It's working out with Bobrovsky. It worked out with Vasilevsky. Then Neil responded and said the Flyers drafted and developed Bobrovsky. Not true. Bobrovsky was never drafted. It said if it wasn't for Laviolette's stupidity, they'd have had him longer and at a low cost. Now, Bob came over. Again, he wasn't drafted. Flyers signed him as a free agent out of the Continental Hockey League. And he came over and he was very raw. He needed a lot of development. He was not the Bobrovsky you saw a couple years later in Columbus and then obviously through the years now in Florida. He was very raw and needed a lot of work. And when the Flyers wanted to win now with that core of Richards Carter, Matt Carl, Chris Pronger, Kimmo Timonen, they kind of got chased out of that one playoffs because the goaltending wasn't good enough. It was a carousel. So Ed Snyder said, we can't have this happen. I have a team here that's built to win a cup, but we don't have the goaltending. Go out and get the best goaltender available. Problem is they gave a ton of money and a ton of term to a boob in Ilya Brizgalov. And Bob saw that and said, there's no path to me being a starter, so I'm not going to sign an extension. So the Flyers had to trade him. So in hindsight, it haunts you. It absolutely haunts you. What the Flyers should have recognized at that time was the worker that Bob was off the ice and that he would get there. Greg says, Cellini, he said, Marner, he grew on me the moment I saw him screaming at his team to wake the bleep up. That's the kind of guy I want. Yeah, the way he does it, though, guys telling other guys to wake up in big games when you're not performing that's tough. I thought it was really small of Austin Matthews after he came up incredibly small in those final couple of games and said we had a lot of passengers. You got stones to say that, buddy. So, yeah, I disagree with you on that one, Greg. If you're going to be out there leading the way and you need more support, I'm all for doing that. He looks like he spazzes to me. Raymond says, Torts didn't think Couturier was worthy of being named the captain and started out the rift between the coach, management, and the players. Nothing in this interview swayed my belief Torts was right. First of all, I think this is the same guy that said it on Twitter, that Torts didn't want him as a captain. As you guys know, I talk to Torts every week on the record. We did Hockey and Hounds, and off the record. He was totally on board with Sean Couturier being the captain. So you can spread the conspiracy. One of my ground rules of phase 2 was not narratives, not things you're making up in your head, but the truth. Now, I understand there's a lot of untruth out there, and these narratives get spoken about and they get presumed to be real. John said, big loss for the Flyers not keeping Brad Shaw as he's now going to be assistant with the Devils. Best of luck to Brad Shaw. And he's a great coach. And the Devils got themselves a good one there with Brad Shaw. Solar Warden said, Couturier is a 60-point player next year. You heard it here first. He said, Torts was clearly using him wrong. Shaw gave us the older style Coots. Let the man play. He can score too. We don't need him to just worry about D. I thought he looked revitalized at the end of the year. 60 points, is that possible? We'll see. I think he's going to be one of the more intriguing players I'll be looking at under Rick Tocchet in this next regime. I think there's still a lot of hockey there left because I love the way Sean Couturier thinks the game of hockey. His hockey IQ. Always loved it. I love guys who can think the game at a high level, and he can do that. All right, speaking of guys that can think the game well, we didn't know this when they drafted him. Flyers in the 2020 draft, in the 23rd pick, took Tyson Foerster. He just signed a 2-year bridge deal at $3.75 million AAV. Nobody's going to be offer sheeting Tyson Foerster. Fresh off a 25-goal season, here is my Flyers exit day conversation with the Flyers winger, Tyson Foerster. Our Flyers Daily exit interview series. They're not interviews, they're conversations. And we're going to have a conversation right now with Flyers winger, Tyson Foerster. Tyson, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. The grind of 82. You've been through it a couple times now, 2 seasons. How was it different this year than it was when you played 77 games the year prior?
I think I was almost the same. I mean, we were out a bit earlier this year, which kind of sucked, but I think it was the same grind, and it's a grind, but it's also a lot of fun, and I love doing it. So, I mean, it doesn't really feel that much of a grind.
When you look back at this season, you set a career high in goals with 25. You add 10 more points to your total points for the year. Big growth year for you. What did you learn about yourself and your game?
Just stick with it. I think confidence is a big part of my game, and early on I was kind of struggling. I didn't feel like I had much confidence, but one goes in, and it's the floodgates are open. I feel like I feel like if I can stay confident throughout the whole year, I think I can take bigger steps.
I think we sat here last year, and one of the things I said to you was that shoot more. It's something that I said, if I was on that bench, I would tell Tice, shoot more. You defer too much. But that's part of the NHL culture, and you respect the other guys. You don't want to be the hog always shooting the puck. But I think you're established now, and a guy that after the season you had with 25, the way you finished in particular, you take that into the offseason, then into next season and go, you know what, I got more offense to give here. You're going to do the right things in all zones because the player you are, but I think that's the next step for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for sure I got a bunch of people telling me I got to shoot more.
Yeah, good. We're on the same page.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I, they're due to go in. So if I keep shooting, hopefully I can get more next year.
You got a goal late in the season. I forget who it was against, but you had the stick way out. I think the goaltender was anticipating you're going to pull it into your feet and let it go, but the power you got on it with it out, it's hard to do. You got to have a lot of strength to do that. You can change that shooting angle, can't you?
Yeah, I
Deceptive.
think that was against the Rangers, and I think
yep.
I think
Jonathan Quick.
Yeah, I think it got deflected. Maybe it helped me out a bit, but yeah, I mean it was just quick release, and I was lucky enough to go in.
25 this year. I always like to look at the science of scoring. Where you're at, what kind of shot it was, where the release point is, how you disguised it with your body, and all of that stuff. Do you feel like beating NHL goalies is not easy? And do you feel like you're learning how to be deceptive with those guys?
Yeah, I think it's more about the release and the quickness of the shot, so the goalie can't pick it up, or finding it through the defender's legs. So I think early on I was struggling with that, and I started to find it near the end. So like I said, if I can, get more, have more confidence and a better start, I think I can be better than I am now.
You guys, at some point this season, the Cates Forster Brink line came together, and if this is going to be a thing next year, you're going to have to come up with some kind of name for the line, because it's very rare that lines stay together with such consistency. But that's because of the way you guys played together. Why does the line work so well?
I just think because we go to dinner with each other every night and on the road, and we don't care if we mess up. If Casey messes up, we got his back. If Bob messes up, same with me. If I mess up,
right?
Yeah, we always go out there the next shift, and we always. Early on, we were calling ourselves the defense line, but then we started scoring. So we got to find a new nickname for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for a while there, I looked at you guys as the line that would shift territorial advantage. When the other team was winning the territorial battle, your side of the red line, then your line would go out and flip that. And you guys were not only preventing offense against, you were providing offense for. And that, I'm sure, as a collective group, gave you guys a ton of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were playing good away from the puck, and not giving their guys much on offense for them. But when we started scoring, we were like, wow, we can do this both ways, and we don't need to cheat to score. If we keep working hard and staying together, I think we'll be perfect.
Talk about that staying together, that consistency and knowing that predictability of, I've been playing with these guys. I know where he's going to be. I know where my support is. I know I don't have to think or look, because I know because of the past of playing with these guys and getting into that rhythm. What's that like as a player to not have that element where you can kind of remove some of that thought?
Yeah, I mean, they did a great job with that. We talk after on the bench after every shift. We ask questions. Even on the ice, we're screaming at each other, pass and stuff. But we're always supporting each other, so it helped a lot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What's the plans for the summer?
Just go home, relax for a little bit, and probably come back here.
Back here and train?
I don't know. maybe in the middle of August or August I'll come back, but I'm not sure.
When will you get skates back on your feet? Because as a young player, that preparation for a season tends to have changes. You start to work smarter, not harder in some ways. When will you get skates back on the feet and touch the ice?
Probably end of May, early June.
Mm-hmm. And just get some light skates in and then start ramping up as you get into July.
Yeah, exactly.
How excited are you about the future? There's going to be some adding going on here.
Yeah, I'm jacked up. I think, if we can keep how tight this group is, I think we'll have a good chance for the next couple of years.
Last thing for you. One thing, in talking to some of the coaches and about your game, is one thing they say, your stick is so heavy in board battles. Being able to play through the hands is a non-starter against you. That wasn't something that was kind of in your scouting report. Is that something you developed at the NHL level?
Yeah, I think so. I think my first camp COVID year is one thing I can remember is in junior you can just go and pick up a guy's stick and take the puck and go on offense. I remember my first camp, Coots. I tried to do that to Coots, and my wrist almost broke because I wasn't hard enough, and he just took the puck, and I don't know.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't even move his stick, so I was like, holy moly. So, that's something I remember, and, it helped me because now I know I got to be way harder on my stick. Yeah,
and you've certainly done that as well. Tice, have a great offseason. Appreciate it. 25 this year. Be knocking on that 30, maybe beyond next year. Just even get power play, too. You can eat on the power play. So enjoy the summer. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it, as always, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Great to catch up with Tyson Forster. Flyers Exit Day interview series continues. Monday, it'll be Bill Meltzer, and we'll get back to some more coming up next week as we get to the Stanley Cup final. We don't have hockey every night now. It's a great thing about the beginning of the playoffs. You got multiple games every night. Even in the second round, you've got games every night, and in the conference final for the most part. Now, all of a sudden, you're down to 2 teams, and there's days off with no hockey. Like, come on. Help me, please. All right, everybody, enjoy your weekend. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday with Bill Meltzer on another brand new Flyers Daily.